Welcome to the Mind Myself podcast. I'm Esther, and it is my pleasure to be bringing you information about healthcare approaches, health issues, and people's health journey stories, all from the complementary, holistic, and integrative perspectives, helping you become your own best health advocate and helping you make your own informed choices because you matter. Welcome to Conversations with E. I'm Esther, the founder and CEO of Mind Myself, and it is my great pleasure to introduce our guest today, Jennifer Regular. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Esther. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Yay! So before we dive into a conversation about spirit and illumination and all those great things, we're all about body, mind, and spirit with Mind Myself. Tell us a little bit about you, your credentials, a little bit about your journey, and what beauty you bring to the world.
Yeah, sure. I made a joke once about my earth cred, like my earth cred. It's like, what are my credentials since I've been here on earth? And it's really comes about from walking the path, and yeah, just being human. I mean, isn't that what we came to earth to do, is to learn how to be human? So my credentials have been like a lot of spiritual development, personal development, professional development, and then learning how they all fit together, and how it become more into who we came here to be and what we came here to do. And my path took so many different pivots, Esther, and trying to find out what was it really that I'm here to do, what was I meant to learn. And I love to learn, I love to explore, but always after new experiences and growth and expansion. But there's also a lot of contraction. So a lot of it is just having the human experience and living it fully. Like I really live life fully. And so I give myself credit for that, to have the courage to be able to do that. And I thought going through school, I was going to be a clinical forensic psychologist, believe it or not. So that's what I started out to be. And then it turned out I did do my BA thesis on serial killing, a critical analysis of behavior and personality, and worked with federal offenders. But then I moved along. I have my degree in honor psychology, and I thought I was going to go for a PhD, and it just didn't work out that way. There's some life circumstances that took me in a different direction. A lot of healing rites of passage, I would call them, for my life. So I moved around a lot in terms of what it was that I was doing. And I worked over 20 years in social services with different populations, different issues, different needs, different people experiencing life differently, and the same. Because what I realized through all of that work was that I didn't want to relate to people role to role anymore. I wanted to connect with them soul to soul. And all the various systems that I worked in didn't allow me to do that. And so then I became certified in some healing modalities. I did shamanic apprenticeship training since 2006. And so just always, like I say, learning, growing, and recognizing what it was that I came here to do. And I realized that no matter what form my work took, it was always about guiding the destiny of souls into their most empowered way of being. And that's where I think a lot of what we're here to do is not necessarily the shape that it takes, as a parent, as a career person, or as a business person. It's really who you are and what you're expressing through your soul through that work. So really finding your passion. Mm-hmm. And the way I see passion, when you break up the word, it's pass I on. That I being your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. So I give a lot of credit to that kind of wisdom and insight from my guides, actually. And not so much from the degree or the certifications. It's really from how my soul's been leading me and how I've been spiritually guided and what I'm saying yes to and being devoted to, like what I really stand for is what I give myself credit for. So I guess a kind of different way than maybe that question normally gets answered.
I love that, because what my soul stands for and pass I on and my soul purpose. I think that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. Well, and that leads beautifully into our topic today, which is soul care is the new self care.
Oh, yes.
What is soul care? Maybe just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can really simplify it and say caring for our soul, caring for our core being, but it's a lot more than that too. What I like to refer to actually, because it's really tangible, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I think so many of us, especially your audience, would be familiar with that, right? And what I found, there was a couple of things, but I'll just back up for a second about how soul care became the new self care for me, because I did mention that I was working in social services and for human development and community development for a couple of decades. And what I would hear at the last job that I held in that field was in the helping professional field, there's a lot of vicarious trauma, a lot of compassion fatigue. And even though I was working for an organization at the time in Ontario, I live in British Columbia, Canada now, so a few provinces over, but in Ontario, um, I was working for an organization there, and we had the great pension, we had alternative benefits where we can seek out counseling and practitioners and really take care of our well-being. They saw to our ergonomics, and it's all self-care things, right? And you can get gym memberships and wellness benefits and all those things, but it wasn't enough for the kind of pressure and the work that we were doing. And I've heard people actually call out around me. They're like, this soul care is not enough. And that really sparked something in me. I'm like, you're right, it's not enough. And the whole self-care system really is built on that premise that we're not enough. They're based on deficiency needs. We're not getting the right or enough exercise, sleep, food in our bodies. When we think about when we think of self-care, going for massage or going to the spa, or that it's selfish, or, so many different ideas and concepts around self-care. But going back to Maslow's hierarchy, when we're looking at those lower level needs that do need to be met, they're foundational, they're important. And I'm not saying that self-care isn't important. It absolutely is. It's just self-perpetuating in a cycle of deficiency. And so everything that goes from like the physiological needs to the safety needs, the love and belonging, and to the esteem needs are all based on not enough, deficiency, and wanting to meet those needs in some way. And that is a lot of our physical life and ourself and what we're putting out into the world in external focus, though. The validation coming from other people's approval, expectations, the fears and obligation and guilt that we go through, which I call the fog, is always moving through this fog, which is dense and heavy, and we're just trying to get through. It's more like survival. And obviously, survival is important. We do want to survive. But then there's those higher level needs, and that's where soul care comes in, because it's growth and it's about the journey of self-actualization. And someone after Maslow, I apologize for the person that I can't credit at the moment because my mind's a blank on that, who put in transcendence. So there's even an opportunity for enlightened wellness and going beyond even self-actualization. But what goes beyond the self-esteem needs is our cognitive needs, wanting to explore and learn and take care of our mental wellness. And then there's the aesthetic needs, which is about being in the beauty. I mean, Esther and I were just talking before we started this conversation for the podcast about how much being out in the forest and nature provides such a medicine to support and to heal and to soothe our senses that are so overstimulated now these days. But then also what we get to see, especially in the last few years, all we really see is the screen and the person through the screen. And that's wonderful. However, we're getting that screen light. So what about the natural sunlight? What about nature's sounds and sights and tastes and all of the things that really help to feed our soul, that nourish us, that help us to grow and expand and move into those higher level needs that support our well-being on a literally whole different level. And that's what our soul needs. We need that inspiration. We need beauty around us. We need to feel the beauty in each other. Think about how much we move and our soul opens up when we hear a powerful song or words or have meaningful conversation or hear laughter. or see the flower bloom, or vegetables growing, or the birds fluttering around. There's just so much that is available to us that we overlook or take for granted and don't even realize how much our soul needs that. So the soul care is really about doing the things that you love with the people that you love and that support your growth and expansion and help you really step into those higher levels of being in the world that really gives more meaning and fulfillment to our lives. And so that's one way of looking at it. And yeah, our soul being able to do the work that we love as well, right? The
I,
reward that comes from that.
I think that's so important. And that everything that you've just said takes it so out of the realm of self-care and soul care being selfish, because it's not. It's nurture. It's propelling ourselves into who we really truly are. And that is, like we were talking about earlier, Jennifer, that is our purpose for being on the planet. Be more of who we are. So what advice would you give somebody listening to this today to extricate from all of the things that distract us from our soul work, or to maybe put them on pause, maybe not extricate fully, but put them on pause? What would you say to somebody listening today? What's a first step they could do?
Well, the first step's usually about awareness, right? And so remembering that we are spiritual beings having this human experience. So doesn't it make sense then to focus on spiritual wellness and then being able to free our spirit to direct the life that we're meant to live? So following what frees our spirit, it could be dancing, it could be painting, some kind of artistic expression or creative expression through our work, even creating a meal, starting to do the things that open us up to what life is really about. But remembering is the first step that we are spiritual beings. So how can we support our spiritual wellness? What frees our spirit? What sets our spirit free? Where we feel that spaciousness, the growth, the awe, and the opportunity to learn and explore, so really starting to remember what it is that you do love to do or that you haven't made time for lately, and to choose one of those things to start engaging in. This morning, for example, I actually woke up in a really contractive state. I was anxious, I was angry. I actually cried because it was just too much for me to be feeling this way. And then next to me, just without even thinking, I grabbed my How to Focus book from Thich Nhat Hanh and I read a page. And of course, the universe always provides, and we get exactly what we need when we need it. It was a page on stopping. And I realized, I haven't stopped in a while. And, there was a saying in 12-step rooms about halt: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. When you start feeling those things, being hungry, angry, lonely, tired, there's an imbalance, right? And it's a halt. It's a time to just stop, hit the pause button at least, and just give yourself a moment. I'm like, that's good. And then I picked up my soul care journal and I looked at the page and started writing a little bit about that. That instantly gave me this bit of a reset. And it just kind of realigned me and synchronized me about what's important. And it was that awareness moment, right?
Mm.
And then accepting what is, and then taking action of how we want to be moving into the day, because I still had the rest of the day. I didn't have to continue to be in a place of anger and anxiety. And so I went for a walk in the forest, because that's something that I love to do. And it really fed my soul. We don't have to necessarily be intentional about what we're expecting from that walk out in the forest, for example. It's just more about allowing a natural reset to occur when we're in a natural environment, right? And so, yeah, I guess the first step is really awareness. What are you needing? What does
Yes.
my soul need? Asking yourself that question, and the remembrance of being a spiritual being so that you can free yourself. You free your spirit to direct the life that you're meant to live.
I love that too. So many things about this conversation I'm loving. And I hear a lot of women expressing guilt when they take time for themselves. How would you, I mean, remind myself, we're all about helping women become their own best health advocates. I
Mhm.
think spiritual health is absolutely a part of that. What advice would you give somebody listening today to be able to give themselves permission, herself permission to take those moments? So it's like a step back even from awareness, or it's a step forward, whichever you wherever you are in it. What do you do to release and give yourself permission to go, I am going to take that step or go for a walk in the forest? How do we clear ourselves for that?
Yeah. Recognize that your energy and your passion is what has the most impact. And so, how you're feeling, what energy you're giving off, has tremendous impact to those around you. So, if you're not in a good place with your energy, you're off balance, people are feeling that around you and they're reacting and responding to that around you. When you take care of your energy and you're doing what you're passionate about, what you're here to do, then you're doing it for everyone around you too.
Mhm.
You're radiating more light and love into the world just by doing that. And also, when you're going through a healing process on a healing journey, you're not just doing that for yourself, you're actually healing your whole ancestral line.
Mhm.
And so I know we don't have a whole lot of time to go on to how that actually happened. You'll just have to take my word for it for now. But to recognize that when you're engaging and taking care of yourself, you're becoming the best version of yourself so that you have more to give and radiate to everyone else around you, and that it's coming from a full cup and not from a place where you're depleted, because that's really poverty consciousness. And you'll find other areas of your life that start depleting because of it. So that's a big mistake that people make, is that they keep running on empty. You know, you wouldn't do that with your car, right? It's impossible to do with your car. So why would we want to do that with our human bodies as well? And to be a role model for those around you, you know, and to show that it's okay to do the things that you love to do, that nourish you, that support you, and that enliven you, that it is actually kind of expected that you do take care of yourself, you know, that you're not um, relying on false senses of security to get by in life, that it's really cultivating an inner confidence and courage and enlightenment where you start to hold things more lightly and be able to radiate more of that light when you're coming from a lighter place, a lighter way of being.
So great. And I think some of us, I'll just include myself in that, some of us have not taken those steps into prioritizing soul care because we've been afraid. And I've heard two acronyms for fear. I
Mhm.
think many of us have heard the one, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
So that fear is getting in our way. We can certainly know that it's false. And the second one, which I've heard recently, which I also love, is face everything and rise.
Yes.
I love that one. And I say,
Yes. Yes.
if we're going to be on a soul journey together, and first and foremost inside our own beings, because that is the foundation of health, then we can face everything and rise. And if we allow ourselves permission to do that, our whole lives will change. I know that I'm in that process right now, and it can be scary sometimes, but it's amazing too.
Absolutely. And there is another one too, and I love the one with Rise. That's my favorite at the moment. But there's also a Face Everything and Recover. And you need
Mm.
to recover yourself so that you can be yourself.
Mm.
And that also lends for an opportunity to rise, you know, and to be rooted down in order to rise up.
Mm.
So
I
finding what's
love it.
surrounding you and what holds you present in the moment. Yeah.
There are costs to not doing it too, and I know we don't even have time to get into that, but when we don't, it actually it costs more than us. It costs those around us, and I think you've alluded to that. So
Yes.
Jennifer, where our time is almost gone, what would you like to leave our listener with today? What's some nugget that they can be inspired
Yeah.
by or challenged by?
Yes. Well, you know, you said about what the costs are. And so if you can embody these care practices, then you're embodying life rather than just reacting to it, which is the cost if you don't engage in soul care. So my ultimate motto, though, is to free your spirit to direct the life that you're meant to live.
Free your spirit to direct your life. Say that one more time. Free your
Yes.
spirit.
Free your spirit to direct the life that you were meant to live.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on this podcast, Jennifer. And I encourage people to reach out to her and book a session because, boy, getting to the root of some of these things can make all the difference in how you move forward in your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us at the Mind Myself podcast today. We know that time is precious and you've spent some of your valuable time with us. We're grateful. If you would like to reach out to our guest directly, the information is below. And if you would like more from Mind Myself, that information is also below. Please visit our website and check out all the information about the different complementary, holistic, and integrative healthcare approaches, information about health issues, more podcasts, tons of blogs, and we even have a community page for you where you could reach out and tell your story safely, or you could ask questions and perhaps somebody else in the world is going through something similar to you. In any case, we're so glad you're with us, and we're doing this because you matter.